Hi guys, lovely to have you here.
G'day, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
You just performed on the stage. How was it?
Great, whirlwind.
Yeah, that was good. It was, it was huge. You know, I mean, it's never surprises how many people is out there. So
Yeah,
It's mad.
it's good.
yeah.
Last time I saw you, you climbed up really high, and I thought a lot of people are sweating at the moment.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh, you know, I mean, it is a bit insane. It's, you know, when you're on stage, you're not really yourself. You know, I'm not going to go climbing around here like some sort of like climbing up that.
What do you mean? Well, it wouldn't be that dangerous.
No, I mean that's
now,
like
you
a
know?
practice one. But no, I mean it is the best part about it is it's the best seat in the house when you get to the top and you can look out and see all the tents and all the crowd all the way to the back. You know, the food vans and when you put your guitar in the air and they all put their fists up, it feels pretty cool. But you have to remember not to get so overexcited and that you are 50 metres or whatever it is up in the air. You know, you have to like go, okay, we don't have a rope, we don't have anything. Shit could really go bad. So just, you know, hold on to the truss.
And this time you climbed again, I just heard.
Yeah, this is the first climb of probably 2017, is it?
Oh, so you're a bit rusty then.
Yeah, a bit rusty. It was a bit rusty metal actually at the top, and I was like,
Did you climb as high as last time?
oh, I can't remember. You know, it's just I just try and get as high as I can, and you know.
So you're from Warrnambool? Is that how you
Warrnambool,
pronounce it?
Yeah.
And I read somewhere that you had this sort of like a cabin in the backyard.
A cabin.
That's where your climbing career started, isn't it?
Well, I used to climb on the roof and stuff
Yeah.
of the house.
We used to jump off the roof too.
Yeah, I used to jump off the
That
roof.
was pretty weird.
Yeah, I jumped off the roof to Metallica's "Jump in the Fire," and I sort of stuffed up my ankle.
So you've had that injury since then, haven't you?
Yeah, it's just, and then you know, it's one of those injuries that comes back every now and then. In Canada, we were playing in a place called Kamloops, and I was sort of giving the crowd a bit of a solo, you know, and running wild again, and I misjudged the sub, and I stepped off, landed, tore two ligaments, or a bunch of ligaments, tore some bone.
Went back on stage?
Yeah, went back on stage. The crew held me up. You know, the crowd actually came over and was on top of me, but the crew got me out, and then
The crowd was on top of you while you were injured?
yeah, there was no
Nice.
barrier. So I'm just, you know, I'm down there. Ow, you know, this is yelch. And then so I had the moon boot on for the rest of that US tour, and then finally we were back in Europe.
You just mentioned you jumped off the roof to Kill 'Em All by Metallica. That was a cassette you bought when you were how old?
Went down to Capricorn Records, and in Warrnambool, it's the record store, it's Capricorn Records.
82.
Yeah, oh Jesus, like
That would have been like 93, 94.
yeah, very early '90s, because the first cassette was Razor's Edge,
Right.
Thunderstruck, and Mistress for Christmas.
Nice.
And all that. And actually, I'm sorry, I've just got to go off camera and touch this bit of wood because I have to do this during the interview. When you talk about, thank you, when you talk about climbing, actually, you talked about it twice. I've got to go touch the wood.
Wow.
Seriously, every single time I'm literally looking around for wood because it's every time it gets talked about.
Well, you could do this thing.
It's the touch the wood thing, yeah. So, but
Are you
anyway,
superstitious?
a little bit, you know, it's. Yeah, I'm a bit crazy anyway, so...
Really? I never gathered that. Okay, so tell me about the cassette. How old were you?
the Razor's Edge one?
Yeah.
Well, Mum got it for my birthday. I was about...
Your mum got it for you?
Yeah, because I was like, Mum, can I have the Thunderstruck
Okay.
band?
She didn't know what she
AC/DC.
was getting.
Well, she went down there and got it for my birthday, and then, you know, it was the first record I really ever heard. I knew how to work a cassette player because I'd been going through old cassettes and stuff, but never really found anything I truly loved other than a band that called the Atlantic Rhythm Section, ARS.
What was your first sort of metal cassette type of thing? Or did you listen to it together or what?
Yeah, screaming for vengeance, Judas Priest.
Oh,
actually.
nice.
It was-
A classic as well.
Yeah, I don't know why I bought that as first one, but it was really good.
You had a fair bit of Van Halen going on too.
Ooh, Van Halen.
And Iron Maiden, yeah.
Did you get the hairstyle and everything as well?
Well, when we got on our first tours, I sort of had a bit of a tackle with some scissors, and I cut my hair like Bruce Dickinson, like 1992. So basically,
1992 era.
so I just went like
you?
this.
92 era. Because
Yeah.
we used to have the VHS Iron Maiden live at Donington.
Right.
And on that one, Bruce had the straight across the brow.
So how did it work for you?
It didn't work very well. For me.
No.
I thought it looked pretty cool. I keep saying, bring it back, man. Like, let's just.
Might come back.
When did you first start playing instruments? How did you get into playing?
We had a music channel in Australia, and the rest of the world had MTV, but in Australia we had Rage. And on Rage is where you would see bands playing, and that was you able to connect the dots, go, oh, that's how that noise is made, that guitar sound, or you know, drums or whatever. Because it's not something you can work out as a kid without anyone else really to tell you what to do. So, like, oh, well, I need to get electric guitar. Simple things like that, and then you just sort of work towards those things as a kid.
And what was the first song you practiced?
We actually used to play...
Like the very first song. It was one of them was like, you ever seen that comic strip like the young ones did?
Bad News.
Bad News.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that? It was what was
The
it
Young
called?
Ones?
No, it wasn't the Young, but we watched the Young Ones. It was the
that
first
was
time we seen
brilliant.
Motorhead was on Young Ones.
They made a. They
Nice.
sort of made a. They made a movie about a rock and roll band, and they actually played Donington way back when it would have been like opening, but they had this song "Bad News." It's just bad news.
And then we learnt it, and we thought that's a good idea. We'll play it at the next gig. And then we watched a movie called Strange Fruit. So we learnt All Over the World. That's one of the Strange Fruit songs. Because they were like, let's get the fruits across the pond or whatever to, you know, see what
Is
they
this you
got.
doing an English accent?
Yeah.
It's not actually not bad.
We watched movies as kids about bands like Airheads. And movies like that about bands that were fictitious movies, Spinal Tap, you know, we thought that was a real thing as kids.
you?
And we just thought, oh, wow, they're having a hard time. But, you know, and that just sort of teaches you how to be a band as a kid, because there's no internet, you know, there's no no YouTube, none of that. It's just bloody Spinal Tap and, you know, those sorts of video, like VHS.
Well, I mean, Spinal Tap is pretty close to the reality, so it
It
still
is.
is
It
valid.
Yeah. We're still not on the charts in Japan, though.
Oh no.
But it could still come.
Still can.
You also really were into Rose Tattoo, or still are.
Yeah.
Do you remember like seeing them live the first time? How old you were and how it was?
Yeah, I saw him. Well, we saw Angry come down to the Cry. In Warrnambool at the Criterion Hotel. It was a rough, gutsy pub. It was where we first played, and but seeing Rose Tattoo in there, it was just Aussie rock personified. You know, like one of those real. It was the pub where every other pub in Warrnambool, if you got kicked out of, you know, for being too drunk or fighting or whatever, that was the only pub that would take you. But that's the pub that had the best bands. The other one was the Lady Bay.
Okay. And was there any sort of, you know, like concert where you went to and you thought, okay, right, I'm going to become a rock and roll star. This is it. This is what I want to do. I want to be like that guy on the stage.
Well, like seeing Rose Tattoo there and then seeing The Poor and AC/DC at Rod Laver Arena in '96, that was pretty big to go, wow, I mean, this is really what I want to do.
I read that you decided to buy loads of Marshalls, build a big wall, and you were supporting the Rolling Stones. And the roadies were like, what the fuck are you doing with all those Marshalls?
Yeah, we managed to get that gig before we actually recorded our first official album.
That's a bit mad.
Our demo got across the table of Keith Richards, and they just went...
Well, it was when he was in hospital. Remember when he was in like Barbados or something, he fell out of a tree and broke his leg?
Parallels?
Yeah. Parallels there. And then I guess he was just, you know, just having a vodka and orange in the hospital, and they said, what do you think about support for Australia? He probably just said, of course, sounds like AC/DC, you know. Great. I mean, I'm just trying to think how the conversation would have went, you know. And can you give me some more morphine for my leg? And then, but the roadies all said, you know, oh, fucking hell, it's a lot of gear, you know. The last band we loaded all this for
How
was...
many did you have?
But back then we had four full Marshall stacks aside. And the roadie said, oh, wow, you know, the last time we loaded all this shit in was for AC/DC. And that's what we judged it. We said, well, AC/DC's got 4 stacks aside, so we'll have 4 stacks aside. The only difference is we haven't sold one record at this point, or no one knows who we are. But this was our thinking. Yeah. And then we got there and they said, oh, you know, geez, you're a bit hard work, this Airbourne mob. And then, but after the gig, all the roadies are out the back clapping and saying, best band to support the Stones in 15 years, lads, good on you. And then...
That's the English accent.
Yeah. There was he.
Keith Richards' guitar tech... who before the gig said, "Oh, just watch out for these guitars. Don't, just watch out. This is the guitar." I said, "Oh, yeah, no worries. I'm just humbled to be here." He actually turned around and came up and said, "You come here." And then he handed me one of Keith's tallies, put it around my neck, and go, "Have a play of this one." And I was like, "Fuck, he's giving me the guitar and playing it." It's the main one you see with Keith really hugging on to, his baby. I'm playing that.
Bit of sweat.
Yeah, I was like, and I was so nervous. There's that much energy in the guitar. I forgot how to play guitar. I was like, I don't know what to do.
Oh,
I gotta give it back.
I just want to ask you one favor. I got these tins.
Yep.
Because you on stage, you always.
Yeah.
Can you show me how to do it? Because I thought party piece. You never know if I get invited to like a wedding or something.
Yeah.
How do you? Where do you hit it on your head?
Well, I'll fuck up all the camera gear if you actually want me to do it. Like
it's our last interview.
No, it will kill all of your. You will
really.
It would kill everything. Yeah.
Your producer will want to hack
Maybe you
you.
can simulate it.
Oh, but I can just tell you how to do it.
Yeah, tell me how to do it.
Just hit really hard.
Is that all it is? But I thought maybe there's like
just
a
hit in the middle.
And is there any like? I mean, is there one part that's sort of like more like
it actually hurts a bit when you're not on stage.
when all the adrenaline is going.
Yeah, I get to see adrenaline. Maybe I do something, I don't know. I've seen fans do it.
It's really funny.
Do they?
Yeah.
Have they started doing
they
the sort of signature Joel move and hit beer on their head?
Yeah.
There's a few concussions in the audience then.
Yeah, I mean, the harder you hit, the more likely it's going to break.
Thanks.
It's just physics, like if.
I thought there was like a technique.
Well, it started because I used to use my wrist.
Ah, okay.
But it's because there's a bone there that used to split it.
Ah.
And then one time the can split in such a way it sort of went right across my vein. And I was like, ew. Like, I'll just use my head. There's nothing really much up here anyway, so fuck it, I'll just...